Girl, I think he ghosted me. You remember that fine moving man? The one who helped me out and made my day so beautiful. The one who came by my house when I was sick and brought me medicine and spent the night, but we only went to sleep at my house. Well, I haven't heard from him since then, but that's another story for another time. I'll tell you more later. In the meantime, let me tell you about the man who came along. And I'll tell you this, at the very least, he was a beautiful distraction. So I went out shopping on this particular day because my feelings was hurt at the fact that he had not been calling me back, not texting me back, but still was posting on Instagram because you know I went and found this page, right? So anyway, I come home. When I'm on my elevator, I see this beautiful man. He don't even look like my type. He got tattoos and piercings and all this going on. He don't look like nothing I would normally be with. But listen, we sit on the elevator and I'm sitting up here looking at him low-key out the side of my eye. The next thing I know, the elevator shakes, and I feel like he was so overdramatic because he bumped into me, which made me drop my stuff on the floor. So when that happened, he immediately offered to help me, and he picked up the things and said, hey, I'll help you take him to your apartment, right? At first, I was hesitant, but real talk, I felt good that a man was flirting with me. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm human. And I was so disappointed. I felt stupid after letting this man into my house and into my bed. And here he is not calling me back. I felt like a clown. So when this man was giving me attention, maybe my vulnerability made me more open to this situation that I would have obviously in the past not been very open to. So as I was opening the door, I was thinking to myself, okay, don't let this man in your apartment. But then he kept on saying, no, don't worry, I'll help you take these things in there. I'm thinking, okay, how do I know this man is safe? But then it occurred to me, in my building, you can't get into this building unless you're a resident or you're a guest of a resident. And in order to come in as a guest of a resident, the guest has to personally agree to let you come in. They have to then sign off you to come in, and the guest has to provide a government-issued ID, which they check against the national database. They don't play about security. So my thought was, he's either another resident in this building or he's an approved guest, because they will reject some of your guests if they don't pass the database check, such as if they have a criminal record. So I was like, he's gotta be somebody who's okay with being in here. So when we got into my unit, I immediately started apologizing. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to take you off track. I know you must have other things to do, blah, 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 blah. I knew I did not have any reason to be sorry. I knew he wanted to be in my house just as much as I wanted him in my house. I figured, let me be cute, at least play the game, play a little somewhat coy, even though I really don't have too many coy bones in my body. As we started talking, I just could feel this attraction from him. And I definitely was attracted to him. His piercings, his hair color, all these tattoos. He looked like the kind of bad boy that your mother warned you about. So when he asked me, would you mind going and get a glass of water for me? I knew that was his way of buying more time to be in the apartment with me, because he wanted to find a way to stick around. And you know what? I'm cool with that. So as I was standing in the kitchen, of course, I was kind of peeking through the little door in the kitchen just to see what he was doing out there. And one of the things that shocked me immediately was that he seemed to be genuinely interested in my artwork. It's like he was looking at the pieces and he was like really, really into it. And I also got to observe more of his tattoos, and I was curious about them. I always think about that with people's tattoos, like why do they have them? And I noticed that on his chest, he had a tattoo that said love. Of course, I noticed a beautiful cross in his chest. On his arm, I noticed this beautiful tattoo of a lion. And I'll tell you this, the lion seemed to fit him so much. I only known this man for maybe 10 minutes, but there was a powerful energy about him. So as I watched him go around the apartment, being interested in my artwork without me being out there, he seemed to genuinely be interested, and that made me more interested in him. After a couple moments, I came out the kitchen because I was like, listen, it's gonna look awkward if I keep on standing here staring at this man. He gonna wonder what's going on in there. So I came out the kitchen with the glass of water for him. As I handed him the water, he immediately grabbed my hands and then looked me in the eyes. This man had such a bold confidence. His name is Samuel. And I'll tell you this right now, Samuel was so much more than what met the eye. After our quick stare in the eyes, he asked me, what's the significance of this artwork to you? And I told him honestly, I just like pretty things. Some of this artwork I just bought from street vendors, others I've gotten from fairs, estate sales, wherever I could get it. I never spent a lot of money on art. I just like pretty things. And he said, would you mind if I told you a couple things about your pieces? Because I think he knew I just didn't know a lot about them. So I said, sure, like what about this one? And he started telling me a lot about the art. He started telling me about the use of the colors, the artist himself. He really was like a walking art history class. And this was really shocking to me because, again, I just didn't expect this to come out of him. And it was clear that the expression on my face was clearly that I was impressed by him. I didn't hold it back. I just was intrigued, if nothing else. And so all I could do was just let him keep talking, because clearly he has a great sense of pride in his knowledge of art. But beyond having a sense of pride in his knowledge of art, I just was curious about everything that he was sharing, because like I said, a lot of these pieces, I just thought they were pretty, but I knew nothing about the history of them. So as we continue talking more about the artwork, I had to ask him where he learned about this. And he explained to me that when he went to college, he got a scholarship to play football. And while he was there, he chose to take art history classes just because he liked them. And that was just really surprising to me, because I also took art history classes, and that was actually the classes that I did the best in college. So he explained to me that art was just such a really beautiful thing for him. And during the difficulties of playing football and all the stresses that come with that, he would look forward to his art history classes, because it was a bit of an escape for him to be able to learn something new and all of that. So it just really intrigued me, and I got to learn more about him. So as the conversation deepened, one of the things that I was very clear about within my mind was that I didn't want him to go. I wanted him to stay. I just wanted the conversation to go on. I don't know. Something about him felt magnetic, and I felt drawn to him. So I invited him to have a seat to get comfortable. He didn't need to stay all night, but at the very least, he could stick around for a little while. So as we continued talking, I asked him, well, what did you do after college? And he explained to me that he was drafted from college to go play professional football, and he was just so excited to do it. And he said the first couple of years were amazing. He felt like he was the king of the world. And he admitted that during those years, he kind of made some poor choices. And some of those poor choices ultimately led to him leaving the league. I didn't want to go too deep or ask him too many questions. And he didn't tell it like a sob story. He actually told it from a very empowering place. But he explained to me that after he left the league, he became very depressed, because that just wasn't the vision that he had for his life at that time. During the time afterwards, he said that, he kind of just let his fitness go until one day one of his close friends contacted him and asked him, would you be willing to help me because I had an injury? He agreed, because he had nothing else going on with him for himself. And so he went over to help him. During that time when he was helping him, Samuel realized that he actually had a gift for this, because not only did he help his friend recover from his injury, but other players heard about what he was doing, and they reached out to him to ask him for help as well. So he took himself back through school, got some certifications, and then built a business around helping athletes recover from injuries, mobility training. He even got some personal trainers on his team, so now he has a full team of high-end personal trainers that work for him. So as we talked, I noticed that he kept looking at my fingernails, and he asked to touch them. Now, my nails are very soft. I get a gel manicure, okay? I'm a little soft around the edges, if you know what I mean? A little sweet. And so I could tell that he was very attracted to my femininity. So as he leaned in to ask me about my tattoo, he used that as an excuse to get close to me. I told him that my grandmother had recently passed away, and that's why I got the tattoo on my arm that says, put yourself first, because that's what she'd always tell me to do. Of course, I used that as an excuse to talk about his tattoos. They were beautiful. He explained to me that the lion tattoo represents his personality, and that he always goes after what he wants. And as we talked, I noticed that he kept touching my leg. He kept drawing closer to me. This man was not afraid to show his attraction to me. While I was sitting up here waiting on someone to call me back or text me back, here this man is sitting right in front of me, clearly very interested in me. I felt desired. I felt wanted. And so as he kept staring at me, one of the things he observed very quickly was that he said, you know what? How's your shoulder? It looks a bit tight. Now, at first I thought to myself, he's just using this as an excuse to touch me. But then as he started touching on my shoulder, I realized he knows what he's doing. And he asked me, he says, you don't stretch very much, do you? I said, no, I just work out at the gym, but sometimes I don't have time to stretch. He says, well, you may want to consider doing some mobility training. Clearly you work out a lot, but we need to make sure that we're protecting your body and not just having your body look good. And so I told him, I'll think about it. But then he leaned in even closer. And I knew that this was his way of showing me his professional skills, but also having an excuse to be so close to me that there was literally nothing standing between us. My heart was pounding. I felt so attracted to him. This man looked good. He smelled good. He was smart. And now he has a skill set that can help me out too. He had my full attention, and he knew it, and that's all right, because I know I had his full attention too. So when he said that he'd be happy to come by and do some sessions with me, I said, here, give me your phone number. I'll hit you up and I'll send you my schedule. And he told me, listen, I'm here every day. So you just let me know when works for you and we will make it work. And there was this part of me that initially thought he's just trying to get me as a client. But I knew he was right. I needed him. And beyond that, I wanted to have him around again. I enjoyed this first meeting with him, and I knew I didn't want this to be the last meeting. So I focused on the man that was sitting right in front of me, the man who obviously wanted to be near me, even if it's professionally. And I told myself, go ahead, see what happens. At the very least, you'll make a new friend.